Biden, for example, how many of you know this? The Judiciary Committee have been questioning, for example, Justice Rehnquist about these restrictive deeds. You know, you've heard about these things. We've discussed them in the past. Then it was found out that there was a deed apparently at a home that Rehnquist had owned in Arizona during the 1960s, and the deed to the Associate Supreme Court Justice's current vacation home contained a clause, quote, forbidding sale to Jews. Rehnquist received a sharp quizzing about those facts from Senate Democrats when he was, in fact, nominated to be on the court. Now we have Joe Biden, vice presidential candidate. We find out that he owned a residence in the 1970s that had a deed that barred ownership by African Americans. An element of hypocrisy, I read from the Associated Press, in Senator Joe Biden, who's been critical of the nomination of William Rehnquist as Chief Justice, is suggested by the disclosure that Biden himself once lived in a house with a racially restrictive deed, says a Rehnquist supporter. Biden's legal residence from 71 to October 74 was a house that had a deed barring ownership by blacks, said James McClellan, head of the Center of Judicial Cumberland. Now, let's say if we just found out that early in her life that Governor Palin, in fact, was the person that lived and owned a house that had such a restriction. According to Biden, he lived in his parents' house for 10 months, but, quote, by the way, the deed, according to the Wilmington Evening Journal, the Delaware Evening Journal, quote, in that deed there is a paragraph that states, quote, at no time shall the land included in said tract be owned or occupied by, quote, any Negro or person of Negro extraction. Servants would be allowed on the property, the deed states. Biden's parents purchased the home in 1969. Said he lived in that home. Oh, is anyone going to quite, well, that's really crossing the line here. Joe Biden, who says, well, back in 1929 when the Great Depression hit and FDR went right on national TV. Oh, could you imagine if this was the most scrutinized woman in the world? Governor Palin saying that at this time. You see where this is going? Do you understand what is at stake here? Do you understand why I'm not overstating the fact when I say journalism is dead in America?